Here are my top 5 tips for sustainable business that you might not have heard of before. Hi, I'm Dr. Graeme Heyes. I'm Director of Sustainable Innovation at Litmus Sustainability. I've been working in this space for a long time now, and I always hear the same advice for organisations on how they can become more sustainable. But here are my top 5 tips that you might not have thought of before. So tip number 1, create a vision of sustainability for your organisation. One of the things I hear most from businesses is how this really complex systemic challenge that we call sustainability can be integrated into what they do on a day-to-day basis. This can lead to overwhelm and often inaction because it's just another really complex job that you're trying to do whilst you're trying to do everything else in your job. And that's perfectly natural, it's perfectly normal. I do that myself when I'm working on new sustainability projects. What can be really helpful here is to just stop and say, what does sustainability actually mean for my business? And a really quick, easy way to do that is to do something called visioning. So what you can do is just stop and say, what does the world of, say, 2050 look like? If we're going to solve sustainability challenges and the other challenges we have in society, what does that future world look like? You can then ask yourself, what does my business need to look like if it's not just going to survive in that future world, but what is it going to look like if it's going to be thriving in that future world? When we do this, we all of a sudden open the doors to creativity, to thinking differently about our business, and to have more ambitious approaches to sustainability. Instead of just looking at things like efficiencies and compliance, we can look at the much more deep design of our businesses and find potentially new, innovative solutions to our climate and sustainability problems. So this might sound like a really tough job because visioning something in the future can seem quite abstract, and how can you relate that to what you're doing today? But when you've got a long-term vision, it can really help drive short-term decisions that can help make you a more innovative, future-looking, differentiated organisation that stands out from the competition, and that can really drive your business forward towards that future state that you want to be. Having a future vision is just really, really key for everything that you do. So tip number 2 is to identify your superpower as an organisation in terms of sustainability. So there are 2 primary mechanisms through which businesses try to become a more responsible organisation. First, they can try to reduce their negative impacts, and second, they can try to enhance the positive impacts of business. Because people always forget that businesses produce amazing positive impacts for all of society. But too often, I see businesses focus solely on the negative aspect rather than the positive aspect. And that is perfectly rational because most of the pressure from regulators and from the public and from stakeholders is for a reduction in environmental impacts. And that's really important too because we need to step up to the climate emergency, and reducing negative impacts is key. But businesses often forget about the positive impact that they can have on society. A useful way to think about this is through the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So here we have a number of different areas in which we are trying to make the world a better place. And it's totally irrational to expect a business to positively contribute in a major way to all of those themes, because there are so many of them. And maybe a large organisation could address all those themes, but most organisations are really only going to be able to focus on 1 or 2. So it can be really useful here to look at things like the UN SDGs and say, where is my unique ability based on what I already do to have a positive contribution in those areas? So if you work in food and beverage, clearly the no hunger category is going to be something that you can have a really positive impact in. Number 3 is to talk the talk. Now, walking the walk is obviously really, really important. We need to actually do positive action that can contribute to sustainability challenges, whatever they might be. But we also need to remember the importance of talking the talk as well. And what I mean here is, yes, things like positive, effective communication with stakeholders in terms of avoiding greenwash and carrying a strong sustainability message. But what I also mean is sharing your journey with other people, particularly other businesses, whether they're in your sector or in another sector. Because there are a number of benefits that we get from this sort of approach. First of all, we get to share our stories, whether they are our successes or our failures, so that others can learn from them. We also enhance our own brand because we are demonstrating to our broader community that we are a business who is going on a genuine journey, trying to affect good in the world. And by doing this approach, collectively, we can have a much bigger impact. So there are a number of ways you can do this. You could publish reports that describe your journey. You could create communities of practice where you engage with your supply chain. You could put on networking events or invite people in for things like carbon literacy training. Effectively, yes, we should walk the walk, but also think, where are the real key advantages or opportunities that you can get from supporting others to go on the same journey that you've been on yourself? Because again, when we do this, we don't just become a more sustainable business ourselves, we help others to go on that journey with you. Tip number 4 is to think like a marketeer. What I mean by this is that I hear so often from organisations that they don't have the budget to think about sustainability. They can't afford to invest in some climate tech solutions such as solar, or they might not even have the budget to get their first carbon accounts done by an external consultant, but they do have a marketing budget. So one thing I often say to organisations is, could you reallocate part of your marketing budget to sustainability initiatives? We invest in sustainability initiatives in our business. We get to move our business towards being a more responsible organisation. But almost everything you will do in terms of sustainability will inherently give you marketing content that you can then give back to your marketing team to use in campaigns. So if you do your first carbon account, you've got a new report you can publish. If you've created a new product or service or a more efficient way of doing something in your business, that's a great news story that you can again give to the marketing team. So this isn't going to be a huge driver of sustainability in your organisation, but it can really help to unlock the doors to getting access to funding for some of the work that you need to do, which otherwise might not be available. And my final tip of my top 5 is to paraphrase the work of Steve Martin, which is to be so good they can't ignore you. And what I mean by this is so many businesses approach sustainability from a compliance first perspective. They're doing what they do, they hear about a new policy and they think, what's the minimum we can do to be compliant with that policy? That makes a lot of sense. I can see the rational decision for doing that. But it also misses a significant opportunity that comes from when you embrace sustainability at the heart of your business. Because when we embrace sustainability at a more deeper level, we unlock a lot of value in our organisation. We can differentiate ourselves from our competitors, we can create new products and services that delight our customers, we can even create brand new markets where we can move into the blue ocean, as we call it in the consulting world, where there are no competitors because you have literally created a new market space through your sustainability initiatives. So when we take sustainability really seriously and we try to really embed it into everything we do in a business, we just unlock the doors to so much more potential. And really the best way to do that are things like embracing creativity, being ambitious, and just being bold in our aspirations to become a sustainable enterprise. It offers so much more than just towing the line with compliance. And I really encourage every business out there who's doing sustainability to try to embrace this idea of ambition, boldness, and creativity. So that was my top 5 tips on how to become a sustainable business that you might not have thought of before. I hope you found that valuable. If you'd like to learn more and see more of these videos that we've got coming up, please do subscribe to us. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and feel free to reach out to us via email or through our website.